Everyone, welcome back post lunch. So we have a very exciting session ahead of us right now. For the first time, we have a panel discussion happening at reInvent online. So we have with us for now 4 interesting speakers on stage. We have another 2 more waiting backstage who will join us once I leave the screen. So I'm going to do a quick introduction. We have with us right now on stage, they're going to be talking about data privacy in the digital age. So on screen, we have with us Radha, we have Apurva, we have Moutan, and we have Garima. Now, a little bit about each of them. Radha is a senior security expert in custom development organizations in SAP who takes care of compliance and security topics across OPJ and GC. She has 13 years of professional experience and well-versed in vulnerability assessment, data protection, and privacy, risk assessment, penetration testing, and secure code scans. A little bit about Apurva. Apurva Kishore is quality program accountable and project manager in SAP projects, taking care of quality compliance and security topics like secure SDL and GDPR across the unit. She has 14 years of professional experience and is well-versed with initiating and driving security validation. A little bit about Moutan. Moutan is a young woman in the field of cybercrime investigation. Wow, nice, very interesting. With over 8 years of experience working in digital crime investigation, training, and cyber forensics. She has worked with SVP National Police Academy and the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, and interned with CID in Telangana, Hyderabad. Now she is serving TCS in fraud management and digital forensics. She has worked on e-discovery with the global bank in cases like Panama Papers and Libo case. And finally, we have Garima. Garima is working in risk advisory ENY. She is aligned to the technology, media, and telecom vertical, and she is a IRCA certified ISC 27001 lead implementer. Garima has been involved in process review of ESCO HAN implementation and cybersecurity operation SOC center for global organizations. She has been involved in conducting IT general control audits for audit applications. Now, before I take up too much of the time, I'm going to leave the stage and leave it to our 2 wonderful speakers. Over to you, ladies.
Thank you, Aditya. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking time and joining us for this panel discussion. I'm Garima Purohit, and I'm currently working as information security professional with Ernst & Young India practice. And with me, I have my team in the panel who would be sharing with you our views on the data privacy in digital age. Before we start, would bring this to your notice and attention that we are here to talk as subject matter experts, and all the points that we will be discussing are our individual views based on our experience and whatever work we have done so far, and would not be directly linked to our associated organizations. So now I would start with quoting Bill Gates here that historically privacy was almost implicit because it was hard to find and get the information. But in this digital world, whether it's digital cameras or satellites or just what you click on, we need to have more explicit rules, not just for government, but for private people. When we talk about privacy from the very essence of it means any information that any individual wants to be unobserved or secluded. But that doesn't seem to be a case in this digital world. Privacy has become a topic of discussion which shouldn't be as such. Any information that can be used to identify a living person directly or indirectly or relates to them in any possible way is considered to be personal data. But privacy of that has been in question as soon as we started with digital and cyber world. So in any organization, this information is either derived from or constitutes data such as personal files or customer data or the product information or any financial transaction, etc. These are required to be safeguarded. And this process of safeguarding the information from any compromise or loss is what we call as data protection. So today we have 5 amazing women from our Women in Cybersecurity and Privacy team to give you more insights on data privacy and its importance in this exponentially growing digital world. So as we have already had the introduction of our 3 amazing ladies, Apurva and Radha and Moutan. I would also like to call up our captain of the ship from our CSP team, Mrs. Sailaja Vadlamudi. She is a seasoned security and data privacy professional. She has over 18 years of experience, currently working as Director Security and Data Privacy at SAP Labs. She's as recognized as a top Indian women security influencer. She's a certified information security manager, certified threat modeling expert, seasoned GDPR and China cybersecurity law specialist. And as part of Pro Bono, she has started this chapter, which we call Women in Cybersecurity and Privacy. So, as part of this, she's educating young girls and women in cyberspace. She also mentors women and young girls in cybersecurity and data privacy domain and encourages them to pursue careers in security and data privacy domain. She also invests her time to raise the awareness for the cyber hygiene among children. I would now request Sailaja to introduce our team and the intention behind this beautiful initiative.
Yeah, so thank you first of all, Rocheston team, for having all of us here. It's a great privilege to represent this Women in Cybersecurity initiative as part of this great event that is hosted globally, inviting all the women leaders across the globe. And today, talking about the WIS, it is one of such initiatives. All of us on the screen who are the key pillars, like working on it, and we are trying to sensitize, as Garima mentioned. The main focus of this is trying to sensitize women, children, and girls on all of these issues that we were trying to, every day whenever you just see the newspaper, right, we always see like someone is compromised, someone is taking harsh decision of ending up their lives. So our main focus is trying to sensitize the girls, children, and women on all of these issues that they might get up or they might land up into digital platforms, and trying to help them to kind of understand the do's and don'ts on the platforms. And the one more important thing is we're also trying to give kind of educating them. For example, we have started the student chapters now, and 6 colleges are already associated with us. So we are taking up students, those who all are interested, and we are trying to give them some basic understanding of things like OWASP Top 10, what is auditing, what is forensics, so on and so forth, so that they're good enough to start their career in cybersecurity. At the same time, we also handhold them, kind of mentor them, coach them. And the biggest other pillar is also, like normally we say, reach, rise, research, collaborate and mentor. From the research part, yes, we have Moutan here. So she has done so many white papers so far, and we are also on the way to do our research. And as part of this team, what we also do is we also try to add our 5 cents whenever there is a policy document that is coming up, be it Indian privacy bill, be it non-privacy government framework, or be it the consent framework India is coming up with. We just try to add our inputs into there, so that we are trying to contribute back to the community as thought leaders in this. And yeah, this is in the nutshell what we are doing, and we have many more initiatives that are lined up. And this is all possible because we have all wonderful volunteers having the same thought. And for example, Garima on the screen, who is the youngest of all of us, who all are coming forward and extending at a stretch, not expecting anything out of it. So this is the wonderful team which is making us to dream big and to dream more and to make all our dreams a reality. Yeah.
So, Ms. Sailaja, I would also request our speaker with us, Apurva Kishore, for her opening remarks on the topic.
Yes, thank you, Garima, and thank you, Sailaja, for the wonderful introduction. And yeah, with what we have to understand, the first thing that came to our mind is a daunting aspect of GDPR that probably gave us a pause, the first place where we had to rethink on what we were doing and probably re-strategize everything that we were doing. But when we set aside fears, then it was an opportunity that we had to capture. The first thing that came to our mind was, let's understand what this GDPR all about and when it got a change. On May 2018, European Union adopted the GDPR as a new legislation to replace the one that was coming from 1995, which was more under data protection, directive. Now, current legislation was giving more importance to the personal data and the protection, and making organization more accountable the way they were using the personal data. It also started defining personal data more broadly than earlier directive. Okay, it started giving data protection, it started strengthening the enforcement, and also increasing the fines for non-compliance. So that is where people really got shocked. Several data privacy developments have created a lot of hype about GDPR, but let's understand where it all started from, okay? One notable example is the invalidation of safe harbor. Okay, this was one big example where all of us were shaken. So it was hitting the EU market and the US market. This got replaced by privacy. Okay, then some organizations are downright nervous about implementing this. But nevertheless, if we don't do this, we had to pay a non-compliance fee of US $22 million or 4% of their global turnover, which was challenging for everybody. So the first challenge for all the software industries and all the industries across was the way we are compliant to GDPR or not. These days we have regional wise addition to it, but yeah, the first level was the chills there. It gave importance to the 4 arenas of personal data, giving more enforcement to the organization, making them more accountable for what they were doing, making them understand security not just by design, but privacy also given important there, and putting the individual first in this manner. So with this, they wanted to act as a business differentiator across the industry. So they started implementing on, at least few points that come on our count is the innovation. Definitely they had to have the trust. So create a transparency on what will be showcased and what will be not, and whether it is relevant or not, and so on. Consumer empowerment, making the consumer understand how the data has been utilized, making them, you might have realized in your latest applications and all, for each and everything, there'll be, do you want to allow your camera? Do you want to allow your, voice? Do you want to allow your messages, and so on? So it became more and more stricter in which way consumer was given empowerment. Giving importance to the data strategy and governing the data in such a manner that the privacy is also taken care. So this was not just adhering to the compliance, but going beyond the compliance, understanding the customer enterprise, and so on. Coming to industry level and portfolio level, product and delivery, there were a lot of challenges actually. But once we strategize, we have to strategize both from the top down and bottom up. From top down, the strategy was on how to have a standard compliance activities and which are the prior one, which can be handled later. In this case, for program, it was a great challenge. We had to rethink on the scope, the requirements. But yeah, since we work on agile mode, being on cloud company, it was in our blood and the way we were thinking and all our mindset that we were ready to accept this change, which is making our organization much more compliant and all our products usable across globally. So this was just a start on how GDPR impacted the industry and how industries quickly took it as an opportunity than staying on a panic or fear mode. Thank you, Garima.
Apurva, thank you for sharing your notes. Now I would like to ask Moutan to share her views with us.
Thank you, Garima. Hi. So I come from a forensic background. I have worked with law enforcement agencies. So maybe I have a slighter changed view, like is privacy more important or is it national security more important? If government is spying on their citizens, is it because of national security? So, and we have also come across a lot of cases, where cyber forensic investors have to undergo privacy things like privacy becomes a thing like if you're investigating something, third-party data should not come out. Suppose I'm investigating on drugs. So my custodian is into drugs, but in his data, in his laptop, in his phone, if I get a third individual's data, so is it there? Will this privacy laws come into picture, or is it a crime is a crime? You don't bother about privacy in such cases. And being an individual, I'm worried about my privacy. So the takeover here is, should I fight being an individual or as a law enforcement agency where privacy takes a backseat and national security is more important? I'll tell you an example. A couple of years back, there are, Eastern companies, we outsource, this call centers. We have this BPO. So there was a small call center and people generally worked in the night shift to be in the time, to be balanced time with the Western countries. So what happened in the night? A guy used to work. So in the night, a guy and a girl got intimate in the office premises itself. And then after a couple of days, when the manager has seen the CCTV footages of the girl and the guy getting intimate within the office premises, he started blackmailing the girl, like, this is not what you're supposed to do in the office and all that stuff. And when it was out of thing, the girl lodged a privacy complaint, or lodged a complaint against the manager of that company, saying that this is infringement of privacy. Earlier, the first thing we have to come and notice is that what the girl has done in the office premises is wrong. That is nowhere justified. You come to office to work and what you have done. But as per the laws, she could sue her manager. So here, you fight for privacy or not, you have to be aware of the laws of the land. You should be knowing what is the law of your land. So is privacy more important, or is the corporate culture is more important? So in that case, we have seen privacy has taken a front seat, and strict actions were taken on that manager. There are countries where you go to the airport, your baggage has been screened. What happens? You take your laptop and mobile, even they are scanned through your baggages. Sometimes an officer comes, the security comes and says, ma'am, can you take there's some issue, can I scan it again? It just makes you wait 5 minutes and your laptop and phone is re-scanned again. What happens there is your laptop and your mobile phone is cloned. So the complete data is being taken off. It's a complete clone, that what you call bit by bit cloning. So everything which is there in your laptop and phone, including your deleted data, gets copied. And you don't know with whom and with how many people, how many agencies, how many countries your data is with. So here I would be discussing on and off. I'll be speaking on privacy as an individual. I'll be speaking against privacy as a law enforcement agency.
I guess this was the point that I started with.
Thank you.
As soon as we start with privacy, this is one major debate: national security over individual, or the protection of data, or the privacy of data. So I guess I'll now go to Radha and understand her points as well, what she has to say on this.
Sure. Hi everyone. Yeah. So I would like to give my thought in process of the business context here. When new all this GDPR bill came into effect in May 2018, and different laws have come into it. What other companies will think about? Yeah, privacy. If I don't act for this privacy law, what will happen to my business? Yeah? What will happen to my reputation of my organization? And what will happen to my, will the customer trust me and put my data into the cloud? Well, what will happen to my share price if I don't comply to this? So these are the thought process that comes to every business when you don't actually, comply to these privacy acts, or mainly GDPR, which is more famous in the market now. So what will happen to my business? So these are the common concerns, and these are the thought process that comes to every business organization, and definitely they will not take a chance of not complying to these privacy law or act, and then they will act upon that, doing it more meaningful way, which is more important for business customer to help them to run their software compliantly and then securely in the market.
Thank you. So, Sailaja, as we heard our lead as well, I would want to come back to you, and why don't we start from understanding why data protection is so important to us, so that we have our audience as well to understand why we are discussing and why we are here to focus on this particular scenario.
Yeah. So thank you for that question, Garima, to set the right tone and the context for this. And all the brilliant ladies over here, they have already included or given their point of view, especially coming from Moutan, Apurva, Radha, and yourself. So as we know, right, whenever you look into what was happening in the world earlier, because nothing comes up overnight, there is definitely some reason why these laws are coming up. For example, when we look into the earlier days, now I don't want to say the olden days, the movement of information across all of these national borders, today we have, it started driving the global economy. You have lot of data across, and this cross data border transfers that allow businesses and consumers access to the best available technology and services wherever those resources can be located, because it is flowing freely across the borders. And at the same time, the free flow of data across the borders, definitely it benefited all industry sectors. We just can't say this industry is benefited versus that. All of them, starting from manufacturing, finance, education, healthcare, and so many others. And this seamless information transformation, that is being transformed or being moved across, is really critically important for the global economy. But on the other side, when we say, for example, all of us were moving on the roads. I don't know, maybe during our forefathers' time or something in India, at least we don't have the road rules, right? As we start growing, as the infra starts growing around, it's also important for us to know, there should be some rules, there should be some regulations done so that people know what to do and what not to do. And as the theme goes today, what we also wanted to talk about is the digitization and the data privacy. The more digitized world we are, the more data that we are trying to reproduce, and at some point someone has to take the liability of it. Tomorrow something is going wrong. Let us just take one example. Like every time in the news, at least all the security guys, those of us who are in the domain, right, we keep hearing the news telling so much amount of data is being compromised, and even that is put on the dark web. Sometimes even my little ones also get so curious about it. They just want to come into my machine and ask me, Mama, can you please show us what is dark web? Because they literally think it's really dark. And say this recently, one of the bank, one of them mentioned, like, there is a huge amount of data lying there which belongs to one of the bank. And unfortunately, some of us are associated with that bank. Just imagine, we don't have a data privacy law that is enacted in India so far. This bank did not even bother to inform the customers of it to go ahead and change their passwords. Now my password is lying there in the dark web. Anyone who is having the right access or who can buy my password, they can really do something with my bank credentials, right? So at some point, we have to really define the norms and also give kind of accountability to these organizations who are collecting our data. And it is a twofold, right? For example, yes, for law enforcement authorities, and then for the businesses, for the individuals, it's like entirely multifold activity. And I should say some amount of rules and regulations have to be in place to protect each and everybody's interests. We just can't leave this data forever and forever. At the same time, when we are looking into different countries around, like, GDPR being started in Europe, being the father for all of these laws around, China has come up with, Turkey has come up with one privacy law. And let me just quickly talk about Turkey, since I touched base upon that. Since they have come up with a stringent law, right, there is a player there called PayPal. The laws were so stringent that they immediately have to move out of the country. So whatever we are coming up with, there should be a clear balance of helping the country, the organizations and their citizens. We have to really take that balance and move forward. Yes, we have laws around, we have so many things, but in the end, again, coming back to the individuals, just that now India is also coming up with, say, for example, the law is out, the PDPB law is out. And does it mean like I can just go and post all of my pictures on the social media, I can dump my data everywhere and I say like the law is there? No, I don't think. Each of us has definitely a core responsibility coming from the individual, the business, the government authorities and all. I think some of them also rightly pointed out, the more rules we have, right, the more regulations we have, it should not happen like countries started spying on their own citizens and so on. So there are pros and cons to the side of the coin, but I definitely think data privacy laws are important, because normally the main crux of data privacy laws is trying to make this entire flow right from the time you create a data about a person till the time it is deleted. So what all the laws in the nutshell, what they're all trying to do is, you cannot, for example, if I am an employee, my company can only take some elements of me, some attributes of me into the system. Not that I am an employee of the company. They cannot take everything about me. There should be really definitely some purpose why they are collecting my data. And in this entire process of it, they should also understand at some point, for example, when I decided to leave this company, they also have to delete my data. They cannot have my data forever and ever. So there is this entire thing is called the data lifecycle management, right? So all the laws are again talking about right from the time you're collecting the data, having the proper reason to collect it, and the kind of processings you have at any point of time. If individual is going back to the organizations, be it any organization, be it any government, we should be able to really, show them what amount of data is there and where all the data is being used. And then you also have to delete. So this entire life cycle is what all the laws are talking about in a nutshell. And I definitely think, yes, it is important. And at the same time, we also have to balance it out. I think we will also touch base on the points is what are the pros and cons of all of these data privacy laws. Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you, Sheldon. We are already here discussing about the regulations and understanding how it impacts. I would like to take this point with you to understand it better. Like, we know we have this PDP bill, right? And we already have IT Act, but none of these sections or laws actually talk about employee data or how to protect employees. Like even in SAP, if you would go on, if any other organization you would go and ask about what is data protection, everyone is talking about customers and vendors and others. No one is really talking about what to do with the employee data that we already have in organization. So my question to you would be that considering this personal data is already in debate, how do you think this introduction of non-personal data bill as well would be a effective measure here, especially in India?
Yeah, right. As I'm not sure how many of us know about this, India is also coming up with a governance framework to also manage this non-personal data. Again, there are a lot of debates, there are a lot of questions, and I also happen to be privileged to be adding my 5 cents to that entire bill. So, in a nutshell, I can just touch base on what that bill is trying to tell us. For example, if a company is having a data set, like we have different categories of data definitely inside the bill, and we have personal data, sensitive data, critical data, and all of this. And in all of these categories now, regarding this non-personal, bill, what they're trying to say is you can be able to share your data to anybody. For example, you are doing a business. For example, you are into kind of an automobile company, and then you have huge data sets, and then you can also anonymize your data, or you can also kind of keep some non-personal data next to it. And then when some of the startups are coming and asking you, like in India, there will be some or the other startup which want to do some new product or new research into that topic. So this bill is also talking about we should be able to share that particular set of data with them so that they will be able to do some research. So here what I say is, as I also mentioned earlier, right, we should always make a balance. For example, in this business case, if this automobile company is already planning to have their own innovation on the top of the data set, it's not fair to ask them to share the similar data. Rather, it should be requested on a voluntary basis. Just that this company is located in India, if they're operating out of India and their roots are not in India, we cannot force businesses to give such, data to them. And again, there are a lot of pros and cons to this. We have to really balance it out. And as we all know, once we have the data here, once we have the bills or the policies in place and we keep on polishing them, that is what we are also expecting with respect to these bills that we have.
Okay. Thank you, Shelja. Shelja, from here, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our another speaker as well from our team, Lakshmi. Lakshmi have been associated with ADP India since last 9+ years and currently working as Archer consultant. She is a software engineer and also a certified ethical hacker. Along with this, she holds certification for CCNA, CCSA, ITIL, COBIT, and RSA Archer Administrator. Hi Lakshmi, welcome to the panel. Hey, hi Lakshmi. Lakshmi, we would like to have you here to listen to your opening remarks and what you have to say on digital privacy in
Maybe
this digital.
unmute yourself, Lakshmi, a bit. I think you have an unmute button there. You're unmuted is what this telling.
So I guess we'll be getting some good remarks from Lakshmi. That's what making us wait so long. So Apurva, why don't we hear from you? Like I had one question. Why don't we start having that discussion first? Meanwhile, Lakshmi is joining. So let's start from here. From understanding, like, do you see any business value addition with these regulations that we have been discussing so far?
Definitely, to start with, it's a business continuation, maintaining the customer trust, making it very transparent to the customer, even with the changes, with the things that are happening globally, we are considering that. Definitely for more than a business value add, the first thing that we have to take care is the continuation, business continuation. The second thing, yes, of course, the business addition. Now that the market is totally panicked to see where to go back and fall back, or how to check if you are compliant or not, will my software support me, that and all. So as our organization have the brand names with all those things, definitely more and more customers get back to us because of implementing all these things. It takes a lot of change in the strategy, right from portfolio to the product delivery. And probably everybody has to rework, redesign, re-implement, step back on scope, and but this is the opportunity to prove and stand with global.
Okay, so but what has been your experience on handling data privacy regulations at program level, and have you seen any change in the response from your teams, like when you started explaining to them, and how they have changed now?
Definitely a lot of things. First is the awareness to the team on why this is required, and secondly, how this could be easily consumed into our implementation and design, and hand-holding them there, and also continuously monitoring them. See, initially what used to happen, used to regulate, like, no, you have to do it this way. Now we can't enforce this on the young team and the diversified team. So you have to play it a bit more differently. You should say, this is the way we have to do. What are your ideas, brilliant ideas to bring in there? Once we brainstorm on those and also stick to the standards, it was a challenge initially, but team understood on the cause of it when they brainstormed it, and they came up with multiple brilliant ideas, and a program guidelines was set up. So there was a stream of people who were supporting each and every project on how this has to be easily done, what could be done, when it can be stepped. Probably you can, if you have a scope, plan to deliver, if you are not able to implement this in your current delivery, how you can take a step back so that you are thorough with all the privacy requirements and then reach the customer. So yes, it was a challenge, but as I already told, one is awareness, then bringing in a team together to work on it, and third thing, hand-holding them, supporting them throughout. Really, that was the driving point for all of us.
Okay, thank you. So on the same notes, Moutan, like you already discussed that you are talking against this and against the privacy. So I would like to understand that as data is evolving and the privacy is actually going down with the evolving data every day, what is your take on privacy constraints on cyber forensic investigations?
I'm going against it only when I'm in profession. I'm going with it when I'm just a girl. I just want my data to be with me. I just don't want free apps to take away my data from my phone. We nowadays know that every photo you click by your smartphone, everything is shared by another 10, 15, maybe 100 apps. Whenever we click photos, we say that this data is not yours. Nowadays relationships are online. So you don't know, you take multiple photos of yourself. So it's not, so your photos are not shared with that special one, but it's shared with the whole world. That is how privacy is at is at a toss. That is how data is evolving. I book my Ola, I book my Uber. It has access to my GPS, but I don't know how many other apps and who all knows where exactly I am. Now all of a sudden I see in my phone that my GPS is activated. So privacy is actually at a toss, and it becomes very difficult. I should be speaking for it as long as I'm a girl, and I should be speaking against it the moment I wear my get into my professional life, because we have seen many cases where it goes against us. Where when I used to work for the government, there are cases and you have to be very critical, you have to be very careful. We get some phone digital evidence, and then we try to do something, our data comes in that. So even you are in the custodians list then, because you are somewhere related to that phone or mobile phone. So it gets very tricky. But I'll tell you, as discussed by Aditya earlier, that I had to work for Panama case when I was working for a global bank. So there I was working in e-discovery. We used to see the fraud management for that bank, for that global bank. So in Panama papers, they had maintained privacy so well, even during investigation. So we had multiple teams. So the first team, which is collecting the data, they know the name of the custodian, but they don't know what data it is. Like, is it a HR case or an audit case or a criminal case is going on that custodian? So that team will just pull the data. The second team, which analyzes the data, they know the cases. They know what exactly you have to pull in from the emails, from the conversation, from the OCMs. They know. But for them, when we give the data, when we give the evidence, what we do is we blur the custodian name. So the first team knows the custodians but doesn't know what exactly will be done on the data. The second team knows the case, what is to be retrieved, what is to be extracted, but they don't know the custodian. The third team knows where the data is to be shipped, but they just know the location, but which team, where, which client, which vendor, which case, which court, they don't know anything. So, I have also worked in teams where privacy is perfectly maintained and investigation is also going on. But the point is, which country has, nowadays we have Interpol, we have many collaboration with investigating agencies. We have collaboration between law enforcement agencies. Every country collaborates with each other. But now, if you say the current status, it's easy to get your suspect from one country to other, but you cannot get somebody's data from another country. You have countries like Switzerland, you have countries like Singapore, your data can never come, but the suspect can come easily. So we have such cases. So that is how it becomes, third party for me. Again, if there I am analyzing a suspect, and there in one case, I see 10 other cases. So what happens there is like, if I get a search warrant for one person, I cannot go and search other people's data in that particular digital evidence, what you call ESI, electronically stored information, or whatever. When we talk about digital crime, we speak about ESI. So those constraints are there, and I have seen both the sides where cases are solved with perfectly, I have worked in cases. We have been speaking to the head, like, when we work on a case, that case is like a baby. We need to know what's happening. They said, no, you cannot know everything about it. We have to maintain confidentiality. Even when we analyze phones, phone is our new body part. It has more information than what your DNA has. So in such cases also, they have perfectly hidden the custodian for analyzing team or for the reporting team. You don't know which country you have to report. So this is it, there's no narrowing down.
Yeah, so I would like to understand, so what is your point on this? Do you think that there should be more flexibility provided to law enforcement? Because what I understand is that, like, we all have heard of the case of Snowden in USA. Like, we came to know how US government was using private and personal information of each and every citizen. And there was a whole case around that. So do you think that national security should be kept always without any conventional, unconventional scenarios above the privacy?
National security or privacy, yeah. Let me, it differs from case to case, even when we speak about inter-parliament attack case, in those cases, national security is more important than your privacy. I was working on a case, where we got a search warrant. When privacy laws come into picture, we got a search warrant for search and seizure of digital evidence, where the suspect was involved in drug case. So we were working on that drug case, but when we got into drug investigating, we also found child pornography. You know how sensitive and how laws are completely against child pornography. So when we were investigating on drug case, we got into child pornography. But as per privacy laws and search and seizure, we have a warrant to search only with respect to drug. But we got something else. Then what do we do of that data? But the second case is a more heinous crime than the first one. So we have it differs from case to case. So I also want that flexibility should be there from case to case. Maybe some some sections should be a bit flexible towards investigators, because at the end of the day we are protecting the citizens. So so I feel you protecting your citizen is more important, or protecting their data is more important. So it's different from case to case. Even if you consider me as an individual, so many things, my data is everywhere. I walk in somewhere, there are CCTVs. I don't even know, so much of digital footprint we are creating without our knowledge. Maybe I have antivirus in my phone. Maybe I have a phone number with you, and I don't know you have antivirus where all my phone number is rotating on. So, that is how it works. I just keep on thinking, what should I speak on? Because both is the need of the hour, but there should be certain flexibility when it comes to investigating. We can't be privacy preserving investigators. We have to investigate. We have to pull out things. So that is how I think I have answered you.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So, hi Lakshmi. So, hi. So now we have you. Finally, we would love to hear your views as well on data privacy in digital age, and would be great if you can also add in what tips you have on data privacy for individuals.
I think I have seen everyone has covered a lot of stuff on that, and it's becoming a huge important thing nowadays, right? So I would recommend covering about the organizations, though we have like the trainings and everything in scheduled, and a great data workflow, like governance workflows for the organizations. At the individual front also, we should maintain some. Though we are not only an individual front, but as an employee also of an organization, where people matters a lot, right? We have to maintain some cyber hygiene as part of our routine tasks, like how we maintain our own personalization language. And we should also always keep an eye on our softwares and antivirus that we install on your machine, and setting up the proper screen lock and strong passwords. What if someone steals our laptops or phones? Even it takes some time for them to get hold of the data, and it should be always recommended to maintain some strong passwords to maintain our privacy and backing up of the data regularly. And mainly when you use some browsers, we do every day. So it's always recommended to clear your browser history, where this could be embarrassing to depending on the sites what we have visited. Someone uses our machine after we are not there, like leaving our machine. Sometimes we do at our workplace also. They may know what peek into our search history. And it's always recommended to, when you're not really using, just turn off the location services, as apps can sell their information to the target advertisers. And it is also recommended to avoid torrent and privacy websites or piracy websites, where you will, I mean, I have seen a lot of cases in my organization which I deal with incidents mostly on various type of breaches. Nowadays, of late, I'm also working on the insider threat where people start on a critical server. Like they just open a torrent site and which invites the malware, right? And it's also we have to think on rethink on our social media presence as well, because nowadays with this pandemic, everyone is staying home. The amount of time we are putting on the social media is huge, right? So we should think on like what we are posting on the social media. Like nowadays everyone is posting whatever they think on, right? And it might not like some inappropriate jokes or political view or job search, or because I heard, because I closely work what we are posting on the social media. Like nowadays everyone is posting whatever they think on, right? And it might not be like some inappropriate jokes or political views. So it can affect our job search, or because I heard, because I closely work what we are on the social media. Like nowadays everyone is posting whatever they think on, right? And it might not be like some inappropriate jokes or political views. So it can affect our job search, because I heard, because I closely work.
Okay, thank you, Lakshmi, for sharing these views. Radha, coming back to you, I would like to understand what you see as the biggest challenge of data privacy in cloud computing. I guess you're on mute.
Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to IT, challenges in the cloud, basically data privacy challenges in the cloud. First and foremost thing that we need to understand is the information lifecycle in the cloud, which is a critical element for the data production in the cloud. That involves whether the data needs to be encrypted or not. The customer should have clearly defined the lifecycle to ensure the service providers and the support is especially in case of business failure or any critical situation that could expose sensitive information. So the three things they have to keep in mind about the information lifecycle when you are dealing in the cloud is the retention. So how long you need to keep the data stored in some cases, and in some cases these sensitive personal data, what we call it as a credit card number, a bank account number, your health information, and so on, should also be logged. So which means that who has seen that data and those stuff. So that is one of the challenge where the customers should clearly define how long you have to retain such data, and then under what circumstances we need to dispose that customer data. So this is one of the key factors that you cannot hold the data for for a lifelong in your system. So you should have a clear retention and disposal mechanisms identified by your customers or your service providers should follow that. And at the same time, each customer or each business vendor will have their own classification of the data. So they have to clearly define data classification, which they call it as sensitive data, which they call it as personal data or normal data, and appropriately the stringent measures should be taken in the data in the cloud platform, or when you're dealing with the cloud applications. Another important factor would also come into picture, how when you have these data into your cloud environment or a business application, then how do you encrypt that particular data? How do you store the data? How do you encrypt the data? And what tools that you use, whether your organization can adequately support your encryption keys or policies and authorization or authentication associated in data production in the cloud environment. That becomes a key factor. When you hold the data, you need to have that life cycle. Then comes the encryption topic to it. And another thing also comes into picture is because every cloud application is working on an APIs. Application programming interfaces are given, which isn't easy for developers, to program this and easily consume what other application is providing you. So when an insecure API that comes into picture, then definitely a vulnerability in that particular, API might also impact your, data protection privacy concerns, or it might also lead to a data breach. So that's one of the challenge where, I would definitely see in cloud computing and dealing with the data production. And last but not the least, internal threat. Yeah, you should never keep this point out of your mind. You might be thinking the data is safe inside. That's not the case. All the time, you should think that even the employees who can access this cloud data should have required authorizations in the production environment to access the data, and any misuse case or anything that is happening from the employees who are hosting the cloud application should have auditing in place, and that's where you cannot avoid an internal threat. At the same time, you should have a strong authentication and a logging mechanism to find who has actually logged into your system or who has stolen this data, or that might also impact your finance and customer related details as well. So internal threat we should never ignore, and you should always have. That's one of the challenge, because everybody start focusing on, I have to provide access to the customer, proper authorization, authentication, encryption. That's all there. That's all fine. I mean, that's a regular security concern that needs to be taken care in the cloud application as well. But not to forget, internal threat is also there when you have put your application in cloud. So these are the points which I would like to bring up, or challenges which I would see on a day-to-day basis as a cloud security expert, having an experience in the cloud domain. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Radha. I also see that from our audience, we have a lot of questions here, and everyone is having a lot of queries around what we are discussing. So quickly, just to start with, I would like to bring up this one question which I think we should be discussing the most is, do we think that the privacy impact assessment that we have related to GDPR is an effective tool to actually secure our data and personal data, especially within organization? I would leave up to you. You can please give your views on this. Sailaja, would you like to come in?
Yeah. So first of all, I think rest of all of us can mute. There's an echo in the back end. Yeah, thank you. So first of all, yes, as a first step, normally in the industries, we say privacy by design is the way moving forward. And the first step in the privacy by design is we all have to sit together and do the brainstorming. In the industries, from industry to industry, just not GDPR. For example, if you're working with the healthcare industry, you also have to do HIPAA. If you're in the financial industry, you also have PCI DSS and many other standards that are available in the market. So privacy impact assessments, yes, these are effective tools, but then only doing the assessment and leaving it there will not help us anywhere. It will only help us to identify the gaps pertaining to the industry or pertaining to GDPR or healthcare data or kind of credit card data, whatever it is. The next step is trying to identify the gaps and trying to mitigate them, test them thoroughly, and ensure security and privacy, like Radha also mentioned, right? Security and privacy are closely integrated. They're not separate factors. Privacy and security exist together. So we also have to implement all these laws. And again, for example, in huge companies, they have come up with their own in-house frameworks and tools to ensure all these GDPR standards are applicable or can be adopted inside the organization. But on the other hand, we also have a lot of vendors providing many tools to support the organizations. Yeah. And I also see one more question about mobile apps. We all know in India, it has made a big buzz or made a lot of noise even on the social media. Yes, for sure. We have a lot of apps on the App Store, and at least we all professionals who are sitting in here, we totally agree to that. It's a good step government has taken forward. And government is also coming up with rules and regulations or a framework on how to come up with an mobile app, because that is required. For example, yes, you all rightly mentioned, as soon as I download a mobile app from an app store or anywhere, it will ask me to accept the terms and conditions. Yes, it will accept, but sometimes it is also asking us, for example, an e-commerce provider, I don't want to take the names. e-commerce provider is also asking us to give access to your microphone. Why the bloody they have to, have access to your microphone? Only your WhatsApp and your Teams or any tools that you use to, communicate with people, they should be having access to your other devices like your contacts or whatever. And let's quickly look into this example. Siri, on Apple devices, we have Siri and we have Alexa. We have so many devices all over the place. And we don't know how much of data is being captured by them, gathered by them. And I think last year, I have read an article talking about the data that is being captured by Siri is being heard by all the end users in the Apple company, and they're all located in Ireland. And the conversations are pertaining to the private moments of wife and husband, the confidential data of businesses, the critical data of the governments, the nations, and all of this. When people started approaching Apple about this, they said, we are doing this in order to improve the services of Siri. So we have so many tools around, we have so many things around. Everybody wants to have a smart house, everybody wants to become more and more smarter. But in this process of getting more and more smarter, we also have to understand how much of our data is, how much of control we are losing in life pertaining to each and every device we have all together around us. So it is really important to understand how many, depending on the kind of mobile app that you're downloading from the store, what kind of accesses you can give it to the mobile app. In case if it is accessing so much, if you can't live without it, that's fine. If you can really live without it, please don't have such mobile apps on your devices. That is what we can totally tell you guys, yeah. And for sure, there are so many questions. We are already running short of time. I think with these questions, we are also so happy, like we were able to give some useful information to you. We all are available on LinkedIn. And moreover, we also are available on this platform. If you would like to learn more, if you want to become an expert, we all are here to support you and to help you to get into these domains. So thank you all. Back to you, Garima.
Thank you, Sailaja. I guess even I was going through the questions that we had from our audience. I'm really happy that everyone is actually taking time and getting interested in this particular topic, because this is something everyone knows, but not talked about in the sense that it should be. So understanding that whatever questions were here, I think we have answered most of it. And most of the questions, I would like to come up with one answer in one line, that yes, we don't have enough or efficient data protection regulations as of now in any of the countries. And of course, we all know, like US came up with safe harbor policy. So that's why Europe came up with their OECD principles. And that's how now we are struggling with GDPR and how to implement it within the organization. So we all are into very nascent stage, and to understand how and when to proceed with all these regulations in place. But yes, I hope we all were able to answer all your queries, and we were able to add up to your learnings and whatever you wanted to understand about data privacy, and your time here was of some use. Thank you everyone for joining.
Maybe one last note I would like to mention here. They were talking about, are there any fines? Yes, there are so many companies that were sued. There were so many fines that were paid across the globe, and there were a lot of data on the internet. Since we are running short of time, we could not give you case by case, but we would love to talk to you one-on-one. So please reach out to us on any of the platforms that we are available, any one of us. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, first of all, wow, that was really an amazing session. As one of our audience members pointed out, it's been 1 hour and none of us have even realized it. It was only half an hour until I saw Jyoti backstage asking when she has to go on. Wow, that was really amazing. Thank you so much. That was really a wonderful session of knowledge sharing and very, very informative and well put across. Thank you so much, ladies. It was a pleasure having you all. We look forward to having you all for our future events as well. As always, thank you and please be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.